It was a spring morning in 2009 in Columbia, Illinois, when officers stepped into a home that looked perfectly ordinary from the outside. Inside, they found a mother and her 2 young sons, 31-year-old Sherry, 11-year-old Garrett, and 9-year-old Gavin, strangled to death in their beds. Threatening emails sent in the previous weeks warned of death and vengeance. Detectives were searching for a stalker, as now these threats had become a reality. But the most disturbing story was still to come. This is the case of the Coleman Family Murders. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Kishelle, and each week I try to teach you about a true crime case that hopefully you have never heard of. I hope everyone enjoyed Halloween week. I'm happy to have it out the way, and I'm already starting to get prepared for Christmas, so happy days. I am going to be doing some more well-known cases, especially next week's case as well, so keep an eye out for that. But without further ado, let's get on with today's case. Trigger warnings for today do include the death of children. I won't go into it in too much detail, but it will be in there. So if that's something you don't want to listen to or hear about, that's absolutely fine. I will recommend a slightly less harrowing case above my head right now. Content warning, as always, strong language. To everyone who knew the Coleman family, they perceived them as a blessed family. Chris Coleman was a former Marine who now worked as head of security for a televangelist. Sorry, I'm not religious, so if I'm butchering this, I'm really sorry. And it was one of the most recognisable organisations. Joyce Mayer, he was travelling the world with her ministry. Sherry, his wife, was his high school sweetheart. She was a devoted wife and mother who put her sons and her family way before herself. She built her life around her 2 boys. They lived in a modern home in a quiet, gated community. They attended church often, hosted their neighbours, and they seemed like the picture-perfect Christian family. But things are very rarely as good as they seem. And beneath the façade, their marriage was starting to fracture. Sherry had previously confided in friends that Chris had started to become quite distant, critical, and controlling. In late 2008, Chris got in contact with the police as he had received a string of threatening emails to himself at work. They weren't always just addressed to Chris, they were addressed to staff members, senior staff members, and sometimes to Joyce. However, these letters and emails mentioned Chris by name. The messages warned that if he didn't quit his job, they would take away what he valued most. The messages were very explicit and basically told him if he didn't quit his job for Joyce, they would kill his family, which is terrifying and bizarre. Over the following weeks, more letters and emails were appearing. I believe it was a total of roughly 10 messages/emails. I'm just going to say messages, but no, when I say messages, I mean messages, emails, letters. They'd now got more specific, and they were threatening to choke out his wife and his sons and referencing Bible scriptures about punishment. When these first came through, Chris just reported it to his supervisor, but on November 14th, 2008, that is when he reported it to the police, so we're back to where we were. Police did take this very seriously. They were concerned about this. It was threatening, it was scary, it was strange. So they took the threats incredibly seriously, and they installed some surveillance cameras outside Chris's house. Extra patrols were ordered to go around the area, keep checking in. The ministry themselves hired private investigators to look into this as well, and everything was documented. Everything was saved, captured. What's the word? Documented. We'll leave it at documented. Some of the letters were actually posted to them, but some of them weren't posted. They were placed in the letterbox, which is really scary because you think, well, they had your address anyway, but now they're actually going to your address to place these directly in your letterbox. So they'd been outside your house, which must have made everyone feel incredibly uneasy. Sherry, of course, was absolutely terrified. She was terrified for herself and she was terrified for her sons. She told friends she'd started having nightmares and she barely slept. She started sleeping closer to the boys at night because she was so alarmed by this, and she actually did want to move in with her parents just until things had kind of stopped or they'd caught whoever was doing this. However, Chris just kind of brushed it off and said, it's just harassment, it's fine. Probably said, you're being dramatic. He said he wasn't willing to quit his job like the letters were demanding either, as he thought it would make him look weak. Police, of course, are still looking into everything, and they're a bit confused because there doesn't really seem to be a motive behind these letters. It doesn't make any sense why someone wants Chris to leave work. But Chris seemed really calm about it all. He just seemed quite blasé, where poor Sherry is absolutely terrified. On May 5th, 2009, Chris left the home around 5:30 a.m. to go to the gym before work. He texted Sherry during his workout but didn't get any response. He called her a few times as well, but still wasn't hearing anything back from her. Around 6:43 a.m, Chris ended up calling the neighbour and said, "Can you just go and check on Sherry, check on the house? She should definitely be up by now. I can't get hold of her. Just go and check everything's okay for me." The neighbour kind of went over and said the house was undisturbed. The dog hadn't barked, so it was clear no one had kind of got in, you'd assume. So the neighbour went over to knock, no response. So when they got back to their house, they called the police for a welfare check. When police arrived, obviously all the doors are locked. They can't get in contact with Sherry, so they end up knocking the door down or in to get in. Inside, there was a horrific scene. Sherry and both her boys were found dead inside. They had all been strangled by what looked like either a rope or a cord. There were spray painted messages all over the walls, things saying "punished," "you have paid," and "I told you this would happen." However, there was no signs of a break-in. There was no signs of forced entry anywhere. There was no broken windows, broken doors, broken locks, nothing. There was no sign of how this person got in. Chris, of course, returned home a bit later and was seen sobbing on the driveway, insisting that the killer must have been the person that sent these threatening emails. Detectives on the scene immediately noticed issues with the crime scene. It didn't look right. First of all, the spray paint on the walls looked a bit too perfect. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it looked like it had been rehearsed, or someone had had a lot of time to make it look how it did. Because I don't know if anyone's ever used spray paint. It's incredibly hard to use, and if you're doing it quickly, it's just hard to use. It shouldn't look that good. Do you know what I mean? They of course searched for footprints, fingerprints, evidence of just anyone being in there, and they couldn't find any. We already knew the dog hadn't barked. We knew there was no signs of forced entry. So it all just looks wrong. It all looks a bit wrong. Crime scene analysts later determined that the killings had happened between 3 and 5 a.m. Phone records, of course, were checked for everyone, and Chris was actually at home a lot later than what he said he was. So it was actually closer to 5:43 a.m. that he had left the house. So it meant that he would have had time to commit these murders, and he was likely in the house when everyone was killed. Detectives noted that his behaviour was very cold. He seemed incredibly calm, he seemed incredibly disconnected, and like I always say, you never know how you're going to react in these kind of situations until you are in them. Some people are like that. I mean, I'm one or the other. I'll either be incredibly dramatic or I just shut down completely. I just totally switch off, and I pray I'm never in that situation, but if I was, I would be one of the two where I would just completely switch off. You'd struggle to get a word out of me. But he seemed kind of expressionless. He wasn't making eye contact, which is strange, and he seemed more concerned about his public image than what had just happened to his family. Another thing that police found was that he didn't rush home at all. He kind of was like lingering around the gym car park before he decided to drive home. So you can't have been that concerned about your wife and children if you weren't rushing. I'm going to put in some clips now from Chris's police interview so you can make your own decision on how you think his behaviour is.
When you left the house this morning, was your wife alive?
Oh yeah.
What would you say if I told you that I don't think she was?
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I think she was. She was.
What do you mean you think?
Were you involved in her death?
No.
Okay. Was someone you know involved in her death?
I don't know.
Did you know, did you talk to anybody about arranging her death?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
He seems to be getting quite agitated here. The police officer's pissing him off. He just seems to be getting a bit ratty with him. So then came the biggest revelation, and that was that Chris was having an affair. So at the time, he was involved in a secret affair with a woman named Tara Lentz, who is actually one of Sherry's old friends, which makes it so much worse. And Tara lived in Florida, so he would kind of make effort to see her when he was on business trips with work. Tara was 32 at the time, and she was divorced and had one child. Their affair began in November 2008, and coinky dink or not, this is the same month the emails started. This is the same month the threats started. Within weeks of their relationship, they were discussing marriage and children, and that's a bit much. Chris told Tara that he would file for divorce in May of 2009, which is oddly specific. And of course, he promised her the world, he promised her a new life once they were free to be together. The affair had been going on about 7 months by the time of Sherry's death. So I misspoke earlier. I said that he would divorce Sherry by May 2009, which is just a weird date. But he didn't actually use those words. He said he would take care of it. Now, I would assume that Tara thought that he meant he would divorce his wife. But he didn't say that. He said he would take care of it. Like I said, I'm not religious, so I don't know how strict it is in certain parts of a Christian community about divorce still. But with his job, I would assume that getting divorced would be slightly frowned upon. So do with that what you will. Of course, Chris has promised this timeline by end of May, and Sherry and her sons are murdered on May 5th. The evidence against Chris was starting to become quite overwhelming, and just as the cherry on top of this disgusting cake, they found the threatening emails on Chris's laptop. The letters were typed out on Chris's laptop, the ones that were handwritten matched Chris's handwriting, and the fucking idiot had saved them all as drafts on his laptop. So he was threatening himself and his own family, as well as terrifying people at work, terrifying his wife, wasting resources from multiple different organisations, including his work and the police. Ugh! This man was appearing to fear for his life when he was actually just setting the stage to murder his family. Is it a Chris thing? No, I can't even say that. My granddad's called Chris and he's the most beautiful man in the world. But family annihilators, we now have 2 Chris's. Detectives are just trying to build the most solid case they possibly can, and I think by the end of this, their case is fucking bulletproof. So investigators also found printer ink matching the ones that were on the letters. They found the email account that the emails were being sent to, and they tracked the IP address, and it went back to Chris's home. The spray paint painted on the walls at the crime scene was matched to the one that he left in his garage. His phone data showed his time and route discrepancies, and now it's known that he has lied to police about where he was, when and what time he left and everything else. They found security footage finding Chris leaving the home later than he'd said. His DNA was found on the ligatures that were used to kill Sherry and the boys. They got bank records showing wire transfers for hotel bills for him and Tara. Like that is a lot of evidence. There's not really fighting that, is there? When Chris was confronted by police about the unbelievable amount of evidence they had on him, he just remained totally calm, totally unfazed, totally unbothered. When he was questioned, he said that the threats were real and that someone must have hacked his computer to make it look like he had done it to himself. But of course, police would have looked into this and they found no evidence of this. May 19th, 2009, he was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. The respected security officer, a man of faith, a family man, was now accused of murdering them all. His trial started on April 25th, 2011, before Judge Richard Augier. I don't think I'm saying that right, I'm so sorry. How do you think he pled? That much evidence, how do you think he pled? He pled not guilty. He claimed that the evidence was just purely circumstantial and that he had been framed by an unknown stalker. Twat. So the prosecution argued that the motive was twofold. It was lust and image. He wanted this new life with Tara, but having that life and divorcing his wife would mean he's sacrificing his job. It would cost him this prestigious job that he had. So instead of just leaving his job and starting life with Tara and getting another fucking job, he concocted this bizarre chain of events where he starts with threatening himself, his family, his co-workers. He wanted to create an external enemy and then play the victim when his family was taken away from him. Of course, they had an absolute fucking mountain of evidence to present to the jury as well, so that would have helped. The defence, however, they argued that the state had built this case on speculation and character assassination. They argued that no direct witness placed him at the scene, and that digital evidence could have been manipulated. They painted Chris as a man under pressure from a failing marriage, not a murderer. And they rolled with the theory that an unidentified random person has killed his entire family for a motive that we cannot quite figure out. Also, just a side note, if you're wanting to have a new life with your mistress but it's going to cost you your job, and then you actually start getting threatening emails, surely then you can just leave your job and then start your new life with this woman. So actually the defence doesn't really make any sense. So of course the defence, like I say, tried to argue that there was a random intruder, but the evidence doesn't show this at all. There's no evidence of anyone being in the house. There's no one else's DNA on the ligatures, there's no fingerprints, there's no footprints, there's no nothing. And the handwriting on the spray paint on the walls is matched to Chris's. There's just no way. The jurors deliberated for less than a day, which is very quick, and Chris was sentenced to 3 life sentences without parole. The judge called the crimes the most cold-blooded betrayal of trust the court had ever seen. After the trial, Sherry's family described the loss as beyond comprehension. They trusted Chris, they loved him, they'd accepted him into their family, and he destroyed everything on one random morning. For what? For what? A week and a half he got to spend in his little love bubble with his mistress. It's just fucking stupid. I see ones like this all the time and I just think it is the most ridiculous thing. I can't remember who it was, but they got arrested together. Was it Sherry Daly? And it was just like, really? I just don't understand why people don't just get a fucking divorce. Sherry's relatives later founded the Sherry Foundation, honouring both hers and her boys' memories. Their friends and family hold an annual fundraiser, and I will link all of that below so you can go take a look. She is remembered as a warm, funny, creative, beautiful mother. And that is it for today. I'm sorry, that was horrible. I haven't done a family one like that in a while, for good reason. They're not very nice. Yeah, I actually hadn't heard of him. I think he is overshadowed in probably the worst way possible by Chris Watts. I can never wrap my head around those when they're having an affair and they take out their entire fucking family. For what? What? I just don't get it. There's so many questions I could ask, and even if I received all the answers, I still wouldn't quite wrap my head around it. It's just bizarre. But I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I've got a slightly more well-known case. If you're into true crime, it is a more well-known case, and it's quite a recent case. Is it Erin Patterson? It is the Erin Patterson case, the Mushroom Murders, that I think finished in court this year. So it is slightly more well-known, which is very unlike me. So you'll have to let me know if you like it or not. Positive thought. I do need a positive thought though. Positive thought of the day. Mine's really boring today, but it's just little things. So I've washed all my clothes, I've washed my bed in, so I've got a lovely fresh sheets to get into later, which makes everyone's day. And we're having a curry this evening, so I'm absolutely over the fucking moon. I'm very easily pleased. That is it from me today. Make good choices. Make good fucking choices. Think things through. Be careful who you marry. It's okay to get a divorce. It's okay. It's not okay to have affairs. Don't have affairs. Please don't have affairs. I don't like it. Please look after everyone. Look after yourselves. Look after each other. I'll see you next week. Stay spooky, not stupid. Love you. Bye. What's the word? Whatever. The church off is never as good as their seat. Oh, fuck's sake. It's outside police, but also you need to get it together. Noticed. Immediately noticed. Issue. Why can't I say that? I've seen crime seem. Wow. So much worse. Coinky dinkle. I can't breathe either. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like I'm breathing really heavily down the microphone. Ugh. Trying to get rid of it. Victim. External